The Galactic Games Federation Council permitted one human entry as a gesture of pity. Chairman Kelvoreth made certain Earth felt the insult.
One Terran. Our choice of events. Consider it. Goodwill.
In a locked room, beneath the Vancouver skyline, Ambassador Sato faced the Terran Olympic Committee. He had waited 20 years for this.
She's the one. Emma Chen. Median across 12 disciplines. She doesn't know yet.
Emma Chen was 22, athletic, and had never won a major event. Her selection was by design, not despite it.
Why would they pick someone who only ever placed fifth? This reeks of a setup. If this is a joke, I'll walk off the biggest stage the galaxy has.
The slate was silent except for one line, confidential. Earth's sole competitor in the Galactic Games. No explanation, no protocol. Emma packed light. One duffel, one sealed file, labeled Terran Baseline Demonstration. She left it unopened.
I am not their champion. I am their variable.
The transport shuttle descended toward the host planet, the massive dome of the Galactic Games Stadium swallowing the horizon. At the terminal, a bored-looking alien official handed her a laminated pass. Terran coverage, 90 seconds, it read.
They're giving me time to fail and fill a commercial break.
The athletes' preparation hall was a cacophony of unfamiliar sounds and gestures. No one looked at her.
One human? Did your planet run out of real competitors?
Don't engage. He'll find out soon enough.
She found a quiet practice range, the target reticles calibrated for species with 4 arms and compound eyes. Her bow felt familiar.
Whatever the committee planned, I can still put an arrow where it counts.
The tunnel to the main stadium swallowed her in shadow, the roar of 100,000 aliens pressing down.
I am not their champion. I am their controlled variable. Time to run the test.
The archery event began under a curved field of suspended targets, each one shifting in a microgravity drift. Ryloth, the silver-scaled reptilian, loosed 6 arrows that clustered within a thumb's width of the center. The crowd rumbled approval.
A fine opening. Let's see if the Terran can even hold her bow steady.
Emma stepped to the lane. The bow felt like an extension of her arm. She drew and released without hesitation. The arrow vanished into the central circle, so deep the target's holographic rings blinked in rapid, confused sequence. Her second arrow split the first, the impact sensor screaming with a perfect score chime that echoed in the sudden silence.
One more. 3 arrows. That's all it takes to break their idea of what's possible.
Her final arrow struck with a clean release. The scoreboard recalibrated, flashing a number 14% beyond the existing record. Before the stunned crowd could react, Inspector Czar emerged from the official's box, his compound eyes fixed on Emma's bow.
Competitor Chen, by order of the Federation, your equipment is confiscated pending analysis.
In the sterile inspection chamber, Czar passed an energy beam over every component of the bow. The readout blinked green. No tampering.
The bow is regulation. No hidden tech, no bio-enhancements. She shot it herself.
Then dig deeper. Her entire species has no right to break our records. Find the real explanation.
Within hours, alien media flooded the feeds. The 90-second limit vanished, replaced by frantic speculation and distorted replays. A press drone cornered Emma outside the athlete village, its lens reflecting her guarded expression.
I trained. I shot. The scoreboard doesn't lie.
She offered nothing else. The drone retreated, but the damage was done. The Federation now treated Earth as a statistical anomaly, not a guest. Emma retreated to the training hall. She approached a low-balance beam, the only apparatus that didn't require multiple limbs, and began a simple routine.
They're hunting for a cheat they'll never find. I can't control their fear, only my next routine.
The second event was 48 hours away. Federation officials had already flagged her for continuous monitoring, There would be no more surprises, or so they believed. The balance apparatus loomed in the center of the silent arena, a narrow beam of woven energy, suspended above a gravity well.
You don't belong on that beam, human. Your species has never even qualified for a balance event.
You are right. We haven't. That's exactly why I am here.
Ryloth's crest flattened in confusion. He had expected fear, not quiet certainty.
He's trying to rattle me, but this beam is just a line, and I've walked lines my whole life.
During warm-ups, Emma mounted the beam and flowed through a routine that was textbook human. Simple, controlled, impossibly steady. The alien judges stopped murmuring. One of them tapped her scoring panel twice, convinced it was malfunctioning. Her dismount was a single, unhurried step onto the platform. The practice score flashed a number so high it belonged to a different league.
That wasn't a practice run. That was a warning.
The official attempt was set for the next cycle. But in the stands and the officials' boxes, the question had already shifted. What else could this human do? The official balance event began under expectant silence. Emma walked to the beam with the same unhurried steps. She mounted the energy filament, paused a breath, then moved, each element precise and unhurried. A handstand held for 10 heartbeats, then a one-arm spin that drew gasps from the tiered galleries. Her dismount was silent. The scoreboard blazed with perfect scores, unprecedented in the event's history.
I was wrong to mock you. You aren't lucky. You are something else entirely, and I don't know what.
2 golds. They're still searching for a cheat because they can't accept the obvious.
In a sealed Federation chamber, Inspector Czar laid a data slate before Chairman Kelvorath. It displayed Emma's Terran athletic profile. Standardized scores, no redactions.
Archery, 51st percentile among human females her age. Balance, 48th. Median across the board.
They sent a nobody, an average, deliberate nobody, and she's tearing apart millennia of galactic athletics certainty.
Within the hour, a redacted copy of that profile leaked to the media. The term median Terran began to burn through every feed. Alien social feeds erupted. Median human competitor wreaks havoc on sacred records. The term burned across systems, shame and awe in equal measure. Before the cycle ended, Chairman Kelvorath summoned Emma and Ambassador Sato to a sterile confrontation chamber.
You planned this from the start. A deliberately average human to expose our athletic limits. Admit it.
Yes, we selected a statistically median athlete to demonstrate a baseline you never bothered to measure.
You've been spying on our games for years, waiting to spring this trap.
So that's the file I carried. 20 years of preparation, and I was the test subject who walked in blind.
We studied your broadcasts for 20 years. Your records, your limits, they are public data. Emma's selection was arithmetic, not a gamble.
If you think this stunt earns respect, you've miscalculated. I can expel Earth permanently, and I will.
You could, but the galaxy would always wonder, if their median is this good, what are their elites hiding? Fear is a poor long-term strategy, Chairman.
I am not their champion. I am their controlled variable, and now everyone knows it, including me.
Sato tapped a console. A holographic graph bloomed between them, 47 events, one alarming Terran curve.
In 60% of these disciplines, a randomly selected healthy Terran would place in the top percentile.
You could have dominated the games for centuries. Why wait until now to embarrass us?
We didn't want dominance, we wanted acknowledgement. For 2 decades, we watched your broadcasts, and we only asked to participate.
Acknowledgement. She'd carried their file across the galaxy, and now the word tasted like an apology she never asked for.
Kelvorath's crest flattened against his skull. He saw the architecture of the trap now, polite, patient, and absolutely within the rules.
This is calculated humiliation. You manipulated our goodwill.
We followed every rule. It's not our fault. Your metrics assumed our inferiority.
Your third event slot is not guaranteed. We will deliberate appropriate measures. This is not over.
The chamber emptied. Emma sat motionless, the 60% figure echoing in the silence, like a verdict she hadn't known she was carrying. Emma had barely reached the athlete quarters when Ambassador Sato followed. His footsteps clipped and faster than usual.
The chairman has issued an ultimatum. Withdraw from the freestyle event or Earth will never compete again.
Pull me now, and the whole demonstration collapses into a political stunt they can dismiss.
I argued it sets a dangerous precedent, but Kelvorath is desperate. He needs you to vanish before the third event makes you undeniable.
I am not here to make friends. I am here to finish what your committee started. I am running.
If you compete, Earth may face total isolation. Every diplomatic door could close.
They already closed, all but one. What's one more door if this one stays open?
She lifted her competition jacket, the 2 gold medals clinking against the dark fabric. She didn't look at Sato.
They need to see what we are. Not our elites, just us. An hour later, she faced the drones. I've been cleared. I'll run.
The Federation issued no counterstatement. The freestyle course gate would open in 12 hours. 12 hours later, the freestyle problem-solving course stood inside a transparent globe. Shifting platforms, energy barriers, and climbing walls reshuffling in real time. No 2 runs were identical. The sequence randomized after each attempt, punishing rote memory and demanding raw adaptation. The existing record stood at 87 seconds, set 4 cycles ago by a multi-limbed arthropod who had trained for decades. 3 alien athletes had already attempted the course. 2 failed to finish. 1 reached the end, gasping at 112 seconds.
It's just problem solving with legs.
She's not even breathing hard.
Perhaps she's already solved it. Humans seem to do that.
Ryloth's crest flickered, a grudging acknowledgement. He'd entered these games expecting to teach the human a lesson. Now he was unsure who was the teacher. The starter signal lit the gate, a pulsing tone that meant 10 seconds until release.
One more variable. One more test. Let's see what average really costs.
The gate dissolved, and Emma exploded forward, not with alien speed, but with a predator's economy. Every step anticipated, every landing pre-placed. She cleared the first 12 obstacles in 19 seconds, 7 seconds faster than the record holder. The crowd's roar began to shift from confusion to something rawer.
Pattern recognition. These algorithms are as predictable as any drill on Earth. Don't think. Flow.
At the midpoint, a collapsing energy tunnel triggered early, a trap that had swallowed 2 athletes whole. Emma didn't slow. She dove into a forward roll, limbs tucked, emerging on the far side as the tunnel pinched shut behind her. A raw, collective exhale swept the stands. She hadn't just survived the trap, she had used its momentum to gain speed.
That's not training. That's something deeper. Her species evolved to solve problems on the move.
The final obstacle loomed, a vertical puzzle wall pulsing with shifting alien symbols. It required solving a pattern under physical stress. Emma's hands flew across the panel, tapping a sequence that bypassed the logic entirely. She recognized the algorithm from an old training drill. 8 seconds, the wall dissolved. She crossed the finish platform, chest heaving, and the clock froze at 43.2 seconds, exactly half the old record. For a single heartbeat, the stadium was utterly silent. Then the sound came, a roar that shook the dome, 10,000 voices surrendering disbelief in a single wave. Emma looked up, sweat blinding her, and allowed a small, exhausted smile. The podium assembled with a speed that felt like surrender. 3 ribbons, 3 shades of gold, were looped across Emma's hands, one by one.
You have taught us something. Human. Whatever you are, it is not luck.
It is an honor to stand beneath you, Emma Chen. You have shown that measure is not the same as limit. 3 gold medals. They hung heavier than she'd expected. Not from metal, but from what they signified.
From the official's box, Chairman Kelvorath's voice cut through the cheers, strained but official. All times certified, no violations found.
We believe in participation, not domination. Earth is prepared to compete under fair rules.
Emma's wry smile tightened as the Terran anthem played for the third time, a melody no one in this stadium had expected to hear even once. 10,000 eyes watched from the stands, some with admiration, others with the cold dread of a hierarchy overturned. In the quiet that fell after the anthem, Ambassador Sato caught Emma's eye from across the field. He didn't smile, just dipped his head once. The podium descended. The medals clinked softly against her chest. And the galaxy, for the first time, began to ask Earth what it wanted. The Federation Council chamber was thick with acrid silence. For 3 cycles, the delegates had argued, but the numbers were undeniable.
Effective next cycle, Terran participation will be expanded to 12 athletes. This is not endorsement. It is acknowledgement of a statistical anomaly.
We thank the Federation for its commitment to fair competition. Earth accepts.
Sato's bow was measured, but his eyes held the quiet satisfaction of a 20-year plan finally bearing fruit.
12 athletes. The next ones won't be chosen for mediocrity alone. They'll carry the same file I did, knowing what it costs.
In her quarters, Emma laid the 3 medals side by side. Somewhere a data slate still read Terran baseline demonstration. She didn't need to open it anymore. Across Earth, the Terran Committee had already begun selection. Gyms filled with athletes training, not for personal glory, but to be the next controlled variable. A relay runner practicing handoffs in the rain. A climber scaling a wall at dawn. A problem solver coding under flickering lights. They all wore the same dark navy kit. The galaxy braced itself. 12 median humans were coming, and this time, no one called it luck. Emma's part was done. She zipped her duffel, the medals heavy inside. The next games would be someone else's variable. 4 years later, the Galactic Games opened under a different sky. 12 Terrans walked into the stadium, and the galaxy held its breath. They won gold in sprinting, climbing, mental agility, and 28 other events. Not by narrow margins, by chasms. When the final medal was hung, the tally stood at 31 Terran golds out of 47 events. A controlled demonstration, now undeniable.
By unanimous decision, the Federation establishes Terran-class divisions. Humanity will compete only against itself.
The vote was swift and silent. No one argued. The old hierarchy had collapsed under the weight of median data. In a quiet Vancouver apartment, Emma Chen watched the broadcast on a small screen. She was 28 now, her competition days behind her. The feed showed a young Terran gymnast sticking a dismount, then clutching a gold medal with the same wry smile she once wore.
They called it a token gesture. 1 slot, 90 seconds. Now they've carved a separate category just to keep up.
She let the broadcast run for a minute more, then switched it off. The silence was deeper than any stadium roar. The Galactic Games had been permanently altered, and in a drawer beside her couch, 3 gold medals rested, untarnished, next to an unopened file labeled Terran Baseline Demonstration. 6 months after the Terran-class divisions were ratified, Emma signed a lease on a rundown warehouse in East Vancouver. The sign outside read, Chan Inclusive Athletics. On opening day, a single alien journalist stood outside, lens extended. Emma met her at the door and shook her head. No words, just a polite refusal.
I already gave them their headline. Now I want something quieter, something that doesn't need a podium.
The gym filled with children who'd been turned away elsewhere. A blind boy learning to vault, an alien kid with a missing limb practicing balance on a low beam. Emma coached 12 hours a day, never once mentioning the games. The kids knew who she was anyway, the quiet champion who'd changed the galaxy. By the end of the first year, the waiting list hit 3,000. A local reporter called her the quiet champion. The name stuck, whether she wanted it or not. Ambassador Sato visited once, standing in the corner for an hour without saying a word. When he left, there was a small, new plaque by the entrance. Average is sufficient.
He always knew this would work. I just carried the file.
Years passed. The gym never got bigger. Emma refused to expand, but the waiting list grew longer, a quiet proof that her way worked. And in the back office, on a simple shelf, 3 gold medals rested beside an unopened file. Emma never gave another interview. On a small colony world 2 sectors away, a lavender-skinned child named Lyra found a bootleg recording of Emma's freestyle run. She'd watched it 100 times, her large eyes tracking every leap, every roll. The human moved like water.
When I grow up, I want to train like her. Not to be anyone, just to be able to move like that.
With a battered datapad, she composed a hollow letter. It was only 3 sentences, but she spent an hour getting them right. Dear Emma Chen, you showed us that average is enough. I want to come to your gym someday. Thank you. The message crossed light years and joined thousands of others in Emma's inbox. Alien children, human parents, the curious and the grateful. Emma sat in her back office, scrolling through the messages. Most she couldn't answer, but she read everyone. When she opened Lyra's, she stopped. The words were simple, unpolished, and exactly the reason she'd opened the gym.
Average is enough. That's what we proved. Now they're proving it back to me.
She printed the message, pinned it to the board beside her desk, and walked back to the gym floor where a dozen kids were waiting. The afternoon sun slanted through the gym windows, catching dust motes and the laughter of a dozen children. Kids of 3 species shared the low-balance beam. A human girl, a young reptilian, and a tentacled mollusk with a surprisingly steady core.
Keep your center low, Nara. You are not balancing on the beam. You are balancing inside yourself.
She knelt to tie a small boy's shoe, then nodded at a parent watching from the bench. No fanfare, just quiet acknowledgement. The waiting list board flickered, updating. 3,152. A number that meant more than any medal count.
This is what the committee never put in their file. Not conquest, connection.
In the back of her mind, Sato's voice from years ago. The day he handed her the sealed file. They asked us to send our best. We sent our truth. Emma blinked. The memory fading like the sun dropping below the Vancouver skyline. She called out to a child on the parallel bars. Her voice steady and warm, the quiet champion still at work. 5 years after Terran-class divisions, the galaxy no longer feared human dominance. It expected it. Every games reinforced the same quiet truth.
We didn't want to shame the galaxy. We wanted a seat at the table. Emma Chen proved that table was never too high.
Earth now sent only median athletes to every event. The Terran-class divisions had become the new gold standard, a bar no one else could reach. Alien children dreamed of training on Earth. Gyms like Emma's received applications from across a dozen sectors. The Chen effect was taught in galactic sociology courses, how a single median human forced an empire to reevaluate its metrics. A Federation holographic plaque arrived at the gym, 10 years delayed, acknowledging Emma's contribution to interspecies athletics. She placed it in a drawer. The Galactic Games now reserved 10 events exclusively for non-Terrans, a quiet concession to fairness. Born from a single demonstration, and every cycle, a new Terran variable walked into the stadium, carrying the same dark navy kit and an unopened file labeled baseline.
Average was never a limit. It was a starting line, and they're still running.
And somewhere in the spiral arm, a child watches the old footage for the first time and asks, "What if I could do that?" The child in the spiral arm wasn't alone. On 100 worlds, In 1,000 darkened rooms, the same footage played. Emma Chen leaping through chaos. In every species that watched, the quiet question took root. Not how did she beat us, but what else can we learn? The Games Federation Museum added a new wing, Terran Contributions, its centerpiece. A dark navy jacket with 3 slightly tarnished gold medals. Emma had donated them anonymously. The curator, a retired Federation official, spent months tracing the crate back to a gym in Vancouver. Emma, now 42, still coached 6 days a week. The gym had never expanded, but its influence had spread across the galaxy without her permission.
They turned my variable into a symbol. But symbols don't need podiums. They need patience.
A new plaque had replaced the old one by the entrance. The galaxy's ceiling was never our limit. It was their assumption. At night, Emma sometimes opened the drawer where the plaque from the Federation still lay buried beneath old training logs. She never hung it.
Acknowledgement came too late to matter. What matters is that girl in the spiral arm who thinks she can move like water.
In the recording, Emma dove beneath the collapsing energy tunnel. The child held her breath and for the first time saw not a champion, but a path. Years passed, and the old file labeled Terran Baseline Demonstration still sat in her office drawer, its seal yellowed but unbroken. One evening after the last child had gone home, Emma sat alone in the quiet gym and finally slid her thumb across the seal. The data slate hummed awake, displaying the original projections and a short personal message appended at the bottom. Emma, you were never a variable. You were the proof. Ambassador Sato. She stared at the words for a long minute. The hum of the gym's ventilation, the only sound. Outside, the waiting list board flickered an update. 3,194. A life built on proof that average was never mediocre. She placed the slate on the shelf between Lyra's letter and the unacknowledged Federation plaque. 3 objects, 3 testaments.
Average was enough. It still is.
She locked the gym and walked home beneath the streetlights, her shadow long and unhurried, no longer carrying a file. In the morning, the door would open to a new child, human or alien, and Emma would be there, still coaching, still quiet, still enough. The morning fog clung to the Vancouver streets as Emma unlocked the gym door. Inside, the quiet still held the echo of yesterday's laughter. The first child arrived before the lights were fully warm, a young avian with a nervous flutter in her wings. Emma smiled and beckoned her inside.
We start where you are, not where anyone thinks you should be.
By mid-morning, the gym hummed with a dozen languages, limbs and feathers and paws moving through the same circuits, finding their own rhythm. Emma moved among them without hurry, adjusting a grip here, a posture there, each correction a small transfer of something the games couldn't measure. The waiting list board in the lobby flickered. 3,202. It had become a symbol, more than a number. A quiet promise that there was room for everyone who wanted to try. During a water break, Emma glanced toward her office. Through the open door, the slate still lay on the shelf beside the medals, the old words now part of the furniture. The afternoon stretched on, full of small triumphs, a first handstand, a last-second balance caught, a child's gasp of disbelief at their own strength. As the light softened toward dusk, Emma stood by the entrance, watching the last child leave. The gym whispered with the day's effort, but it was a satisfied silence. She turned the sign to closed. The waiting list board glowed in the dim lobby, a constellation of names that stretched across the galaxy, each one a testament. Average was enough. The gym fell silent. The waiting list board cast its soft amber glow against the polished floor, the names scrolling upward like a quiet prayer. Emma stood by the door, one hand resting on the frame. The city outside had dimmed to a low hum.
Average was never the ceiling. It was the floor we built everything on.
She stepped outside and locked the door. The sign above read, Chen Inclusive Athletics, in simple letters, unchanged since the day it was hung. Above the city, the first stars broke through the haze, pinpricks of light that had been rearranged by a single median athlete 2 decades ago. In the office, untouched by the darkness, the slate still glowed with its single line of text, proof that had waited decades to be read. The waiting list flickered one final time, 3,207, before settling into its nightly cycle. 1,000 names, 1,000 second chances. Emma walked the quiet streets toward her apartment, the same route she'd taken for 20 years. No media drones, no microphones, just the sound of her own footsteps. In the drawer beside her bed, the 3 gold medals rested beside the unopened file. A promise kept, a demonstration complete. She allowed one small, private smile before sleep. The galaxy had learned what it needed to learn. Tomorrow, she would open the gym again.